All right. So today in class, I'm going to be walking around and making sure that kids know how to uh, know these attributes. And so I thought I'd just make a video to help you guys. Guys, these attributes are huge on the star. Um, when we talk about we've got to get the easy questions to pass the star test, these are the easy questions. I had some kids in class that failed the quiz and just, we don't really care. And this is just not the stuff to be failing. And so, uh, this is why we're going over extra review because we have to be awesome at this stuff right here. You fail the STAR test um, because of hard questions, which you shouldn't. There's too many easy ones. But it would make sense. Maybe you're bad at math. When you fail because of the easy ones, and you have to keep retaking the star and doing extra work, just because you didn't want to learn the easy ones, that just doesn't make sense. So, with all that being said, the key to this is knowing our keywords up here. So, x-intercept and y-intercept. X-intercept is where this line touches the x-axis. So it touches one, two, three times. So -2, -1, and 1. So I know it's not, B doesn't have -2, C doesn't have -2. So A and D both have -2, -1, and 1. And then the y-intercept is where it touches the y-axis, okay, which would be 2. And it looks like A would be our answer. All right, axis of symmetry is always, the answer to axis of symmetry is always x equals. So immediately we can get rid of these two. Symmetry is when you split something in half and the two sides look like each other. So we draw that line to split this in half and we hit -3. So the answer is C, -3. All right, this question is kind of tough and tricky. Keyword here is maximum. Everything in you is going to want to put -4. What we try to tell everybody is maximum and minimum is like how tall or how short somebody is. And when you measure how tall somebody is, they always measure to the side, like this right here. So the maximum is measured to the side, and it's the y coordinate right there. And the y coordinate right in the middle would be 0. And so everybody will want to pick -4, but like I said, always go to the y-axis. You can see that there's not a whole lot of work to these. Just know the answer. All right, vertex. Big thing with vertex is it's x and y. And whenever you're looking for x and y, all we really care about is the x. A lot of kids get this wrong because they look at the x and the y. If you just look at the x coordinates, right here's the vertex, just look at the x coordinate is 2. And so the first number is always the x. So which one has 2? B, and you don't get it wrong. You look at 2 and -1, and I can't tell you how many people will end up choosing, they'll see that negative, or I'm sorry, 2 and +1. I thought that was negative. They'll end up choosing C. So just make sure that you're careful. Also, there is a lot of people that say this is -1 because of the tick marks. That's -1 down there. So I actually fell for that. All right, zeros. What are zeros? Zeros are just like x-intercepts. It's where it touches the x-axis. So here's my x-axis. I do not know where this is touching. And so we always just say, if we don't know where it's touching, at least tell me if it's positive or negative. Well, both of these are touching negative numbers. This is the negative side over here. And so it can't be A. Those are positive. B has positives. C only has negatives, but only has 1. I've got 2 negatives. And so D is the only answer that touches 2 negatives. All right, once again, axis of symmetry is always x equals, so we can eliminate those two. Symmetry is when it splits it. Oh, that's terrible. Symmetry is when it splits it in half So we draw that line, splitting it in half. The two sides look like each other, and we hit the number -4. So you can see these are really easy. We just have to know what they mean. Y-intercept. Oh, not going to do this question right here. Well, no, we can still do this question. So first off, when I see this, I'm like, well, I can't tell where it crossed. That's why I thought, we weren't going to be able to do it. But when I looked at my answers like a good test taker, okay, does it touch at -3? Clearly not. So it must touch at -12 down here. And if it's the y-intercept, then that -12 has to be the y-coordinate. And so the answer would be B. So remember, the y-coordinate is the second coordinate. All right, minimum. So minimum here, everything in you is going to want to put that 3 right there. But remember, minimum and maximum is like measuring how tall or short somebody is. So you always measure to the side. Like, that's how tall they are right there. Or in this case, maybe how short. So minimum, we go to the y-axis, and it's -1. All right, vertex. Key thing with vertex is that it is the x and the y. And all we really care about is that x right there. So here's the vertex. Vertex is the very top or the very bottom. And we just look at the x. So the x right here is 2, and you don't miss it. Okay, so if you look at 2, -1, that -1 will kind of get you. So that's why we just look at the x. All right. So once again, keyword here is zeros. So zeros are where it touches the x-axis. It barely touches there, there, and there. So -3, and this is the x-axis, by the way. -3, -1, and 0. So that would be B. All right, vertex again. Vertex is x and y. And what do we like to really focus in on? Hopefully you're saying the x. So take care of that x. X is 2 here. Real easy. Okay, don't look at both of them. Just focus in on that x. Had a bunch of people on the last quiz that didn't believe me, looked at both of them and got it wrong. All right, minimum. So minimum is when we're measuring how tall or short somebody is. Always measure to the side. So right here, how short is this? Going to -2. Always going to the y-axis. Vertex. This is our x and our y. And what do we really care about here? The x. So here's our vertex right here. What's the x coordinate? -4. So which one has a -4? D. So you make your life so much easier if you do not worry about that y coordinate. Just focusing on the x. And then if there were 2 of them that had -4, then we could go look at the y. All right, maximum. So maximum, min, and maximum. How tall or how short? How tall is this figure right here? Well, we're going to measure to the side right there. It's at 1. So you can see these are easy. It's just a matter, can you keep them separate from what you need to do? Vertex is x and y. That's different than how you find maximum. That's different than axis of symmetry, which is different than zeros. So they're all easy. You just got to know what they do and what their answers look like. Okay, so minimum, maximum, minimum. How tall or short something is. Okay, so how short is this? It's going to 1. All right, axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry is always x equals. So symmetry is when we split it in half. So split that in half. What number did we hit? Well, if you weren't terrible at drawing, what number did we hit? We hit 2. Oh, and it was x equals, so I should have marked off all the y equals. And then it was 2, so it was x equals 2. X-intercepts. So where does this x-intercepts, or where it touches the x-axis? This does not touch the x-axis, so we would put none here. All right. Let's see. So we got another x-intercept. Wow, I did this back to back. Can't believe that. Great job, Coach Shuttles. So where does this touch the x-axis? Okay, well, not the toughest thing we've ever seen before. Should have come up with a little bit better there. Axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry here is x equals. Notice that, it's important to identify that word, what they want right there. So x equals, so we got to get rid of anything that says y equals. And then we're going to draw the line that splits this in half. And it's x equals 2. All right, minimum is how tall or how short. So I'm thinking how short here. So we measure to the side, and that's 2. All right. All right, keyword here is vertex. So vertex is the very top or the very bottom, and it is the x and the y. And all we care about here, well, I don't want to say all we care about, but the first and main thing we care about is the x. So what's the x coordinate right there? -4. Which one has a -4? C. Right, next, what are zeros? Zeros are the same as x-intercepts. It's where it crosses the x-axis. So it crosses at -1, 0, 2, 3. And there's only there's 4 answers. There's only one of these that has 4 answers. So that's got to be B. Okay, y-intercept. So y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis right here. And you can see it touches at 3. And this is your y-axis, by the way. Sometimes kids get confused because the y is right here. This is your y-axis. So it touches at 3. Now, the key to this, there's 2 of these, obviously, that are 3s. So kids stop and they're like, So remember, if it's the y-intercept, then 3 has to be the y number. And the y number is always the second number. So the 3 has to be B. Has to be that y coordinate. All right. So next, x-intercept. Oh my gosh, I did not do this. Okay, well, apparently the program I'm using just sucks, and I was maybe watching basketball while I made this worksheet. So once again, x-intercepts is not touching. So just terrible. Should be fired. All right, axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry was x equals. So we can eliminate all the y equals. We can draw our line that splits this in half. We hit -3, so it's D, -3. Maximum is going to be how tall or how short something is. So how tall in this case is it? So we measure to the side and we get +1. Okay, so we have done all of the easy parts to this, I guess you could say. And I know there was a lot of them, it didn't take long, and hopefully we know those just a little bit better. All right, so there's some calculator things we want to make sure we don't forget. First off, there's no equal sign here. This looks like an equation, no equal sign. These look like equations, no equal sign. So we can type this in and see if we can, find our factors. And then if not, we can type these in. So we're going to type in, go to graphs, and we are going to type in x² plus 6x. So remember, we got to change this to x² plus 6x. I think it said +9. Let's see. Yep. All right, so we hit enter. All right, well, this only touches the x-axis once. It's at -1, -2, -3. Now, if you remember, Factors and zeros are opposite. This is a 0. This -3 is a 0. The factor will be opposite because it's in parentheses. And so that probably is a +3. But what we want to do, so +3, only one +3 is probably going to be A. But what we want to do is check it and make sure we're right, because what if we did something wrong? So we're going to type this in and see if it makes it change colors. So tab, we're going to go parentheses x plus 3 squared. All right, so watch that blue graph right there. Hit enter, it changed to red. This is my answer. And so that's what we want to make sure we remember. Even if you had no clue what to do and didn't know the relationship between factors and zeros, you just type that in, and whenever it changes color, that's your answer. Now here we don't have an equal sign. So those look like equations, no equal sign. These look like equations, no equal sign. But the difference is there's only one factor here. These all had two factors. So, and even if there was one factor, it was squared. That's what makes that work. So you do these a little bit different. So let's go plug this in. So we have 3e squared. So let's see what we get here. So 3e squared minus e, minus x, sorry, and minus 2. All right, so I am hoping, so let's see. Let's type in tab minus x minus 1, I think is what it said. All right. So hit enter, and you can see this is close right here, but they don't quite cross the x-axis the same. And that's how we tell whenever we have a U graph and then we get our line, there's no way that it's ever going to make that change colors. So we're looking for when they have the same x-intercept. So our original graph had 2 x-intercepts. If this would have hit either of those intercepts, then that would have been the answer, but it didn't. So we're going to hit tab, go up, and change that to just x minus 1. So hit enter. Oh, look at that. It touched right there. That is our answer right there. So x minus 1. So the answer would be B. Okay. So this one right here, we have a y equals, and then my answers all have y equals. So this is kind of like the questions that don't have equal signs, and their answers don't have equal signs, but these do have y equals and y equals. So we're going to type this in, and then we're just going to match it up. Now, I will say that, if you can look at it, you think maybe that okay, I think that's too small and that's too small. So I'm thinking it's one of these. I don't like how close these are to each other, so this might be kind of difficult to tell. So we're going to hit, So we're going to type in this first thing, 2 parentheses, x plus 4 squared plus 4. So you always type in these situations, the original problem. So that's the original problem in green. And then I'm going to type in the second one, which was B, 2x squared plus 16x plus 36. So 2x squared plus, I think it said 16x, but I'm forgetting. 16x plus 36. Okay. So keep a close eye on our green. Oh, I screwed up there. All right, close eye on that green right there. All right, that looks like I changed colors right there. So now these are kind of close. So if you want to check it, you could. I wouldn't. I'd be taking that as my answer, but I'm just curious how close that is. Yeah, both of them look like they could be the answer. Oh, right there. Let's see. I'm going to hit menu 5-1. Oh, so when I hit menu 5-1, you can see that they're not touching each other. Okay, so let's go back up. 36. All right, let's keep an eye on that right there. Okay, yeah. So I read the B, which was our answer. When you hit menu 5-1 and it kind of took it up, sometimes they can get really close to each other, but the further they go up or down, depending on which way it's facing, then they'll start to separate. So that's why I hit menu 5-1 because I figured it would take me up somewhere. All right, so that one was a little difficult because they were so close to each other. All right. And then the last two. So we have done a lot this year where we had y equals equations, and then we had points, and we just simply looked to see if these points match. Now, this is close to that. The difference is that this point has to be a vertex. This is just a regular old point. So we just want to type this in and see, type in -5, see if it says -6. But when we type in -2 and it says 4, it has to be the vertex. Now, I will give you a little hint. This is called vertex form when you've got parentheses squared and a number out here. And so the x would go with the x, and then the y would go where the y-intercept would be. Now, the key to this is the y-intercept is just the y-intercept, so it should be one of these two right here. The vertex, though, has to be the opposite. And so if this is -2, because it's in parentheses, kind of like zeros and factors, it does the opposite when it's in parentheses. So let's try this one right here, and let's see if that works. Now, in the end, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you just simply start typing these in and checking these points. All right. So I'm going to type in 2/9. So control divide. We got 2/9. And then parentheses x plus, I forgot what it was, 2 squared plus 4. Okay. So now we're going to hit menu 5-1. And we are typing in, I'm going to check the vertex first, -2, +4. So I'm going to type in -2. All right, it says -2, +4. So that matches. Now we want to see if that other point is on this. So -5. So if this says 6, it does. This is my answer. So we had to confirm that this was the vertex, and then we just checked that point. We got it. A is my answer. All right, and then the last one today, once again, is another. We just want to get some practice on this. Okay, so we've got our y equals here. We've got points, but this point is a vertex. Now, they won't always make you find the vertex, but they do here. So we've got to make sure that's a vertex. That's just a regular old point. Now, like I said, if you kind of know the vertex thing, the x has to be the opposite. So it's probably going to be a +3. It's probably going to be one of these two right here. So we'll just try B first. And in the end, I wouldn't mark anything off, but I would try these two first, and then you can go back and try those. I'm tired. All right, so we're going to type this in. I'm typing in B, which is -5/4. So -5/4, parentheses. I think I was saying x + 3 squared. And there wasn't anything for the y. That's why the y was 0 right there. Okay, so we're going to hit enter. Menu 5-1. And we're going to type in, so we want -3, and it needs to be -3 and 0 as my vertex, and that's what that is right there. Okay, so right now we're good. So menu 5-1, and you always got to check both points. And -1, -5. So -1. We get lucky. Oh, we did get lucky. -1, -5. So you always got to check both points. In this case, that was the answer. All right, guys, make sure that you know those attributes. Make sure you know this calculator. Now, we still have a lot of review questions that are calculator that we need to make sure we don't forget. But today we were just focused in on these attributes and these few calculator things. So, all right. Hope you guys have a great day.